G'day fellas. In this video, we're going to be talking about 6 simple things that you can do to get better at Age of Empires 4. A lot of people often ask me, Drongo, how can I get better? And the easy answer for me is just simply to say, well, just train more villagers. And that's a great cop-out and it works at every single level. But in this video, we're going to talk about 6 simple things that are a little bit more complicated than just build villagers that will work no matter your level. Whether you're at the bronze level, whether you're at the conqueror level, whether you're at the gold level, it will help you. The first thing that you're going to need to do is find a civilization that suits your playstyle and that you like. This is really key because you might have a civilization that matches your playstyle really well, but you don't enjoy them or you don't like them, and that's just not going to work. You need to find a civ that you like and that suits your playstyle. Now, you might be wondering, what do you mean by playstyle? Well, we have different traits. For me, I'm a boomer. I love to boom. I love playing the late game. I love out-ecoing my enemy, and I love having a big army that I'm able to control the game with and eventually eliminate my enemy. If I pick the French, that's not going to work. The French is an aggressive civilization that focuses on trying to eliminate its opponents as early as it possibly can. And that's why I love the Chinese. It's important that you understand what type of player you are. Maybe you've played with a friend and they've said, hey, John, calm down. You're just attacking like crazy. We need to chill out right now. And in that case, maybe it's a good idea if you're an aggressive player, look to something like the Mongols or the Delhi. These are civilizations that are more aggressive. But in addition to that, there's also an economic and an all-in focus because we've got civilizations that like to defend, like the Chinese, and civilizations that are aggressive, like the French. But then we've got economic civilizations, civilizations that like to play and focus specifically on their economies. The English is a great example for this. They can still be aggressive in the early game, but focus on their economy behind it. And this is opposed to a civilization like the Delhi, which is an all-in civilization. A civilization that, once you pass the 25-minute mark, if you haven't won the game or you're in a really good position, you're just going to throw it away. So that's the first thing. Find a civ that suits your playstyle and that you like. Number 2. You need to understand what strategies your enemies are likely to go for and then implement that into the way that you play. If you're playing a matchup against the Mongols, you can't be going out to gold at your standard time because it's highly likely that when you do, there's going to be a couple of spearmen that decide to greet you. There's a really good chance of that happening. However, if you were to play against the Chinese, well, you could be AFK for 10 minutes and they wouldn't even know because they haven't left their base either. So it's important that we understand what every civilization can do, what it's capable of, and what it's likely to do. That's the big factor, what it's likely to do. Because, you know, in reality, China can rush you in the Dark Age. Abbasid can rush you in the Dark Age. Any civilization can rush you in the Dark Age. But is it the most effective strategy for them to be doing that? And that's why it's important that you understand that when it comes to things like timings, so as an example, a feudal age blitz, if you're playing against the French, the likelihood that a knight is going to be knocking at your door within the first 5 minutes of the game is 100%, 10 out of 10. Whereas if you're playing against, say, the English, the likelihood that they go for an early longbow push, I'd probably put it as maybe an 8 out of 10. It's lower, but it's still very likely that it happens. Then when it comes to something like early castle timing pushes, the Ottomans, they're probably not going to be doing that. Instead, they're going to be focusing on feudal age timing push. So it's important that you have an appropriate response against that. As an example, I'm a big fan of China. I love to go for a feudal boom with China. But I know if I'm playing against the French, that because of their blitz, their super fast attack against me, I'm not going to be able to do my normal build order. But because the Ottomans are a little bit slower in their attack, I know that I can do that and get away with it. This is why it's really important that you have an understanding of what your enemy civilization does. That way, you can play around it and make sure that you have the best chance of winning. Number 3, learn a competitive build order. Now, I know that a lot of people will look at the concept of a build order and say, build orders. You shouldn't learn them. You shouldn't do build orders because if you do, you're just going to be a bot. You're not going to learn anything. But having a build order is a refined piece of information that allows you to achieve a goal. For me, playing China, I love reaching Song Dynasty as fast as I can. I can get a Song Dynasty in 5 minutes every single time. But when I learn that build order, it's not just that I am refining that build. I'm also refining all the skills that I use as part of that build order. my queuing of villagers, my imperial official control, my timing on my landmarks. All of these things are really important skills that you're going to need as a player, that you're going to need to develop throughout the game. But learning a build order also teaches you the most effective method to do something. Now, you might be wondering, how do I learn a build order? Where do I get a good build order? Well, you can just search for them. Find them on Google, find them on YouTube. Hell, there's plenty on this channel. Another great channel that you can check out is Beastie Cutie. I'll leave a link in the description to where you can catch his content. He's got a build order for every single civilization. So whether you're a Delhi player or a China player, he has got you covered. I've got you covered as well, so make sure you check those out. But you need to learn a competitive build order. Build orders are going to help you in the early game, but they're not going to help you in the late game. One of the things I love to do when I'm refining my own build orders, when I'm practicing myself, is I just jump into a skirmish game and I play against an AI. And I'm practicing to get the fastest times that I can, the best times that I can, to find the most effective method. Now, I'm very fortunate because I've got autism and obsessive compulsive disorder, and I'm legally obligated to find those things before I take them to the ranked ladder. I won't go to a ranked ladder unless I've got a game plan. And I guess that's just the consequence of the way that I am. But everybody's different. But I would encourage you, jump into a skirmish game and begin to practice. Begin to queue the villagers. Do the, if you're playing the French, send your 8 out to food, send your 4 to gold, begin sending the villagers to wood, and then drop your mill, research your wheelbarrow, and do it over and over again until you can match the exact same timings. Not exact same timings, but, very close timings to what Beastie is doing, to what Marine Lord is doing. That's when you can start to feel comfortable about getting into the ranked ladder and saying, all right, I know what I'm doing. I've at least got a bit of an idea about what I'm doing. The next point number 4, understand what your win condition is. Now, this ties into the second point, which was understanding what strategies your enemies are likely to go for. It's also about understanding what you're like, or what you should go for. What's your most effective strategy? If you're playing the Chinese and you're going for a Dark Age pressure, that's probably not an effective strategy. Every civilization has got a strategy that best suits their strengths. As an example, the Delhi Sultanate. They go typically for a feudal age timing push. They look to secure sacred sites, get up to the 3rd age, take all of the relics, and then begin pushing with men-at-arms and keeps. That's how they look to finish the game. The French look to just simply kill your villagers. And when you've got no villagers left, you resign. That's their win condition. China, what's their win condition? Survival. If China can make it to 20 minutes into the game and they're on even just the slightest of even footings, they're going to have a really good time. Because China excels in the late game. So it's about knowing what your win condition is. If you're playing as China in the early game, and let's say you take a really great fight at your own base, and you manage to kill the entire enemy forces, and you're like, that was amazing. Now I'm going to push to the enemy, and I'm going to kill them. That's a mistake. Why is that a mistake? It's a mistake because you're playing China, and the longer the game goes, the better it gets for you. So instead of pushing to the enemy base and getting caught off guard by, a large mass of horsemen that they may have been building up while they were fighting against you, what you can do is just sit back, relax, and take this opportunity that you've now won this fight to go up to the castle age. Get up there safely. Get your upgrades in. Play it a little bit more safer and progress your game towards your win condition. Your win condition isn't a 12-minute late age or late feudal age timing push. Your win condition is late castle age. You want to be on 130 villages. You want to have fire lancers. You want to have spearmen running around on all parts of the map. That is your win condition. And it's important that you understand what your win condition is. To understand more about win conditions, it's something that is civilization specific. I'm going to plug right now my Patreon. If you haven't already seen it, it's been overhauled in the last week. We've got plenty of coaching content on there. There are heaps of videos, so I'm going to leave a link in the description to where you can catch that. All of it is coaching. I will warn you that there is a paywall into it, so you will have to pay to see the content, but it is all high quality individual coaching content that is done personally by me. So you can go and check that out to find out more about win conditions. And of course, just to generally learn. Number 5, scout more effectively. Now, this might seem like a bit of a cop-out, right? Like, oh, just make a second scout, or just make sure your scout doesn't die. It's about knowing what to scout for and when to scout it. one of the common themes that I was seeing was people that didn't understand how to scout and when to scout. Let's say you're playing as the Ottomans and you're going up against the French. Now, you know that the likelihood that they're going to be hitting you with an early knight is 100%. Every French player does it. So instead of searching around the map with your scout, running circles around looking for sheep, what you're going to do is you're going to say, hold on a minute, it's 4 minutes and 6 seconds. The enemy French player just aged up. I'm going to move my scout into the front of their base so I can see their school of cavalry. And then I'm going to watch and wait for the whistle. You guys will hear the whistle. You'll know the whistle. As soon as a unit moves into your scout's vision, into that tiny little radius, or it's not really tiny, it's quite big, that radius, immediately your scout is going to blow off a whistle. And when it blows off that whistle, that is an alarm to you that, hey, guess what? We've got trouble. We've got enemies nearby. And then that can be your reaction. That can be your key to begin tracking that enemy unit. So that when, in 25 seconds time, when that French knight charges at your villagers on stone, you don't have to pull them back. Your scout is already there to intercept them, or your spearmen are already there to intercept it because you were tracking it the whole way back. Or, as another example, maybe you're playing as the Delhi against the Chinese, and you're not 100% sure what they're up to. Maybe they're going to play one base, maybe they're going to play two. You need to be checking the stone. Have a look at their stone. How much stone are they taking off it? If they've taken off 350 stone, then it's very likely they're going to be going for a second town center, unless they're trying to fake you out. It's very likely that they're going for a second town center. And because of that, it means that you should be very safe to secure all 3 sacred sites. You should be able to wall them up. You should be able to take them uncontested. So these are key things that you need to be scouting for. Now, that's just the early game. You also need to be scouting out through the late game as well, but that's where it gets more complex. The most important thing that you can be doing is tracking your enemy's army movements. That's the big factor. Where is your enemy's army moving? Where are they looking to attack? What is the composition of the army? All of this you can determine through the safety of a scout. You don't need to sacrifice archers or horsemen. You can use your scout. And as long as it doesn't die in the early game, you won't have to replace it. It's got a really long line of sight. Anything potentially coming to threaten it will very easily, you'll be alerted to. So scout more effectively. That's my 5th tip. And the 6th tip is build more production facilities. A lot of players looking to improve at the moment have a problem with stacking up resources. Whether it's 2,000 food, 2,000 wood, or 2,000 gold, they're stacking it up at 10 minutes into the game, 12 minutes into the game, 14 minutes into the game. The number one thing that you can do is build more production facilities, because it means when you go, oh crap, I have 3,000 food in the bank, what am I going to do? Well, you go, well, actually, I have 5 stables, so I'm going to queue 5 horsemen immediately. Oh, and I have 5 barracks, so I'm going to queue 5 men at arms immediately. Okay, well, there's 1,000 food that's gone. Great, I've just spent 1,000 food. And then you just queue a second round of all of them, and there's 2,000 food gone. And now you've spent almost all of your food that was in surplus. And that's the power of building more production facilities. If you only had 2 stables, you're going to have to spend a lot longer getting through all that food. And of course, you're going to be getting food in at the same time. But the more production facilities you have, the more units you're able to produce more quickly. So where possible, always try and put down more production facilities. And by no means am I saying, hey, go out and put down 76 production facilities. That's not it at all. What it's more about is, I guess the rule that I would generally follow is one production facility for every 3 minutes of the game. It's a bit of a rough rule. It depends on the civ that you're playing. It depends on whether you're going 2TC. It depends on whether you're going fast castle. But when you get to the 30-minute mark, you should have at least 10 production facilities. When you get to the 15-minute mark, 5 production facilities is pretty standard. Make sure that you don't go into the 20-minute mark with a council hall and a barracks. You need more than that. You need a lot more than that to maintain your unit production. So make more unit production facilities. When it comes to getting better at Age of Empires 4, there's no easy route, but one of the most important things is just playing more and playing consistently. If you're logging in every day and playing a game or 2 games, don't focus on winning. Focus on improving. Focus on getting better. This is going to help you a lot, because when you lose games, you're going to be able to think, well, actually, this isn't a loss. Technically, I lost ELO, But I learned something. I learned what I should do. I learned what units I should make in this matchup. I learned how to play better. That's the way that you should be thinking this. Do not think of this as a sprint, but rather think of this as a marathon. Anyway, fellas, I hope this has been enlightening. I hope it's been insightful to you. If you've got any questions, leave them down in the comments. And of course, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.